Jimmy, are we good?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Ben.
Okay. Cool. Good morning, everybody. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Before we do anything, I want to say that, as we've done this tour over the last 3 years, I'm always happy to see Tony Vogel in the room because it means I'm not going to have to answer questions that I have no idea how to answer. I know he knows it all. I've never been happier to have Tony Vogel in the room than I am today. Tony, glad you're here. Hope you're well. Thank you. So we're going to step outside the agenda a little bit this morning and talk about the events that happened over the weekend. To me, a big measure of government is how government responds in times of need, right? When really bad things happen unexpectedly, how does your local government, how does your state government, how does your federal government respond to those things that happen? And we had some pretty bad stuff happen over the weekend here in Fairfield County, and I could not be more proud of how all of our governmental entities came together to make sure that no one got hurt, no one died, and that the damage was minimized. We're going to go through a lot of that this morning and figure out, not only what happened, but where we are today, what we need to do, and what's going to happen next. So it's going to take a little longer than a normal day to get through some of that stuff, but to me, this is one of the basic functions of what we do as a government. So I really wanted to make sure that not only we recognize the people here who participated in all that, but that we let the public know that we took care of our business. So I'm going to start by asking John Coaches, our EMA director, and Jeremiah Up, our county engineer, and Tony in utilities, and anybody else, where we are today. What is the situation today as we sit here right this minute?
The key piece here is, we start with life safety. So right actually before the meeting, we're locking into kind of the final residents that were displaced, see for more, intermediate solutions. So they're going to be relocating to hotels, which is great news because they're going to be looking at their home. They're going to need some remodel for sure. And a big thank you for that. Just the Sayer Village Apartments here in Lancaster. Their ownership has stepped up. They're helping these folks get in a hotel, getting their apartment power back on. So that's good to see. The landlord's taking care of their property. But so with that, we're into the recovery phase, trying to look at some of the damages. We've already let the state of Ohio know that we'd be submitting damages. We know this is a whole new world. There's absolutely no risk. We don't really know what's going to happen.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. President?
Please.
The folks that are being relocated to hotels, is that from the Y or where are they currently?
Yeah, they sheltered at the Y. So executive of Y, they don't quickly let everyone come in. Dogs, cats, fish. You got a little bit of everything. Come in and they've been great partners in our sheltering before this storm.
In terms of emergency preparedness, was that a designated location for that to occur?
Yeah, that's a designated Red Cross shelter. We've used it in the past. It's just the best spot.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So, we'll capture all those damage assessments and send those up to the state of Ohio and see what happens from there. There's some severe road impacts that Jeremiah can go over. And then, the life safety actions that happen Saturday, Sunday.
I'm going to ask you to go through that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Jeremiah, can you talk about where we are with the roads and bridges and culverts?
Okay, so I'll start off with what I thought was the very first one that I heard about yesterday on Stringtown Road, actually just up the road from where I grew up. But I had that particular culvert scheduled to close for replacement yesterday. So when I heard that one washed out, I thought, wow, we really got lucky. And then the phone kept ringing. Realized we weren't lucky. So by the end of all this, Greenfield and Pleasant, especially the western side of Pleasant got hit the hardest, which I'm sure a lot of people know. We ended up with, on Stringtown Road, the culvert that was scheduled to be replaced, which is Greenfield. Pleasant Township lost a culvert on Stringtown south of Coon Path. It's pretty good sized. Greenfield didn't lose a culvert, but we saw a suck hole on one on Stringtown down toward Pleasantville Road. So we got 3 big ones on Stringtown. There's a pretty large culvert on Havensport Road between Pleasantville and Carroll Eastern that surprisingly enough, it's a big heavy gauge pipe. The pipe's fine, but it took all the asphalt and all the backfill off the top of the pipe. So when the water goes down a little bit more, we're going to inspect the pipe. I think it's all right. If that's the case, we can get that one backfilled and opened up pretty quick. There's a small one on Roush Road and a small one on Election House. I'm sure Election House got taken care of, and Roush might be already, or also, I'm not sure. So, I mean, it's just right there in that center section of the county is where everything for us really took whack.
Mr. President, Matt, when you say that a culvert is wiped out on a given road, does that mean that, it sounds stupid, but does that mean that road is impassable now?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and so how many impassable roads do we have?
We have 3 sections on Stringtown that are closed. Havensport is closed. I believe Election House is open, and Roush I'm not sure about. I think it's open.
In all those situations, do the residents have alternate routes for getting to their homes?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Tony, utilities, anything that,
Not as bad as these guys. So most of my facilities didn't work. They were taxed pretty hard, but nothing overwhelmed. And a number of residents in the Peters subdivision just north of Rainbow that had water in their basements. That we go to that and go into the process. But
Okay.
Nothing major as far as I'm concerned.
so now I want to talk about what happens next. So Jeremiah, can you talk about,
Mr. President,
yeah,
before we get to that next, I just want to make sure we have the universe of major exposures on the table, so to speak. And I just wanted to make folks aware. I did have communications with Jack Genoso yesterday, and the lower levels of the hospital, not the main hospital, but their lower services down in the Kroger Mall area are devastated. He's anticipating a very large number, a very large loss number. He doesn't have that number yet. We didn't get into discussions about what's insured, what's not insured, how that's all going to play out. His immediate concern was whether there would be a FEMA declaration or something, and I checked with John, and I understand the situation won't qualify. So John, I think, gave him some information regarding the state process. And also, I did speak briefly with the mayor this morning of Lancaster regarding their assets and infrastructure. Wait an update on that.
okay. Thank you for that. So there's a lot of things to get to here. Want to talk about next steps, Jeremiah, if you have any kind of idea on timelines in repairs to those culverts and roads.
All right, so we're dedicated to helping the townships get this stuff opened back up and whatnot. What's going to dictate the time is how fast we can get pipes. So we've dealt with this issue already this year a couple times, and I can elaborate a little bit on that too. And it's been favorable. So we're hoping we can get, pipes in there in a couple weeks. If that's the case, we can have things open in somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks, depending on which culvert we're talking about and how big it is. If we can't get the pipe, it just gets extended however long we have to wait.
The other piece of that, not to interrupt, there is a resolution on for the commissioners to declaring emergency in Greenfield and Pleasant Township. So expedite the timelines. We don't have to do the processes. So I think it's all part and parcel with the supply and the legal processes. So that is on your consideration this morning.
Everybody wants to keep jumping ahead of me. That's cool.
Can I ask a
Thank you.
question?
I wasn't thinking about that, but you're right. That's important.
Can I ask a question, Mr. President?
Yeah.
So it's been a while since we've been down this disaster declaration road. Can you help the commission understand the significance of our declaration in those two townships?
So essentially what is on for the commissioners, and you guys have done this previously, but on a smaller scale, we've actually been able to call out specific columns. The resolution this morning, we don't have road names on it because there's too many of them. And honestly, this is still a developing situation. They're going to be as identified by the county engineer, but essentially it's an emergency, continuing present emergency. There's damage to public structure, which is culverts, and that we can suspend the normal processes under 153, which is design, and 30786, which is competitive. So up to 100. I don't think any of the roads we're talking about should be in excess of that. So, so that gives Jeremiah the ability just to kind of move forward, not have to worry about the force account and all that stuff. It's just an easier pivot because of the severity of the storms and the damage they did.
Mr. President, may I continue?
Does that give those townships the ability to request state funding?
I mean, they can request state funding with or without it, but I think it makes it easier to get them here. It's a better coordinated effort between the county and the township. Otherwise, they're trying to do under their force count limits. Townships really, they have limited emergency powers. I kind of got into this yesterday with Greenfield as far as what they can declare as an emergency. Really, the county has greater ability to suspend all these competitive bidding things better than the township, because I think initially where I was with them, they wanted to kind of do it themselves, but I'm like, I don't know if this works looking at the 505 and what they can and can't do, and it just made more sense to kind of move this route. I know Greenfield's meeting this morning, they are going to declare an emergency for the purposes of being able to utilize their part-time folks on a more full-time basis temporarily, because they have their own issues with that. But just to kind of, I think it's a belt and suspenders approach to getting this fixed.
And John, can you talk about how they can go about asking for state funding?
That is the recommended first step in the process for a disaster declaration as well. So it serves two purposes there. And as Amy said, the city of Lancaster would have their own process as a jurisdiction to declare the state. So this will help that process moving along.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Davis.
I'm fine, thank you.
All right, so your timeline going forward again, sorry.
If we can get the pipe itself, need about 3 weeks from that date, and we'll have it open. Probably more like 2. So,
And when will you know if the pipe is available?
I should have a pretty good idea next 2 days.
Okay.
I'm going to look and
Yes.
be back, and I should know.
Okay,
So I want to understand the fiscal side of what you're doing. So when you order pipe and get plans together to go out and start fixing this stuff, you're spending money, right? Where are you spending that money from?
It'll be coming from the motor vehicle account.
Okay. Then what is the anticipated recovery, if any, of those expended funds?
The only avenue that we have that I'm aware of would be through emergency stuff for this. Otherwise, it's the normal funding schemes that we normally operate on their normal schedule.
And I want you to understand by asking those questions, I'm not in any way, shape, or form suggesting that the roads not be repaired.
I completely understand. Appreciate your I
the
appreciate the
resolution today, and I understand we're acting in emergent situation and we gotta go. But, you know, walk and chew gum at the same time while we're, you know, fighting the fight. We can also plan for what things look like after we win.
Sure. So again, the biggest reason for that is, as Amy was explaining, it allows me to go in with, the $125,000 limit instead of what our normal force account might be or would be. The bigger part of that is township's force account limit for culverts is right around like $36,000. There's not very many, they could do the little ones, but they're not doing anything of any size with that. So that was a difficulty with them by the county engineer doing it by law. We fall under our force accounts, and Amy reinforced that even more with that resolution. So just giving me permission and a little bit more of an open door to go help.
For today is county administrators being authorized to execute any agreements with the township. If there is any type of reimbursement, that is a part of that. So that's, I don't know if we get to that, but in case we do, that way we don't have to come back in front on a meeting day. We can just put it through CRMS and get it to money. So, so we can keep moving on it.
So what I anticipate there would be the townships would pay for their materials. And then when you utilize my crews, equipment, install stuff, there probably won't be any reimbursement.
Thank you for all you and your team are doing. John, turn it back to you. What are your next steps?
So, today, we, within the next 2 days, we'd like to get those numbers, collected up and sent to the state EMA office, and then they'll the governor's office for consideration. And then, we want to wrap up the residents and the life safety things and the other data collection. Individual assistance is definitely way out of the picture. Availability for these types of events. So we're working with residents in the areas that were impacted with community resources. Use It 211 is our coordination entity for that. So I want to make sure those people are getting what we need if possible. Because other neighborhoods were impacted, just not as immediate as what we saw on Sunday.
Thank you.
Mr. President. So is there a distinction to be drawn between the type of entity that was damaged and then access to disaster relief or the lack thereof? In other words, does it have to be a governmental entity? Does it have to be a corporation? Does it have to be profit or nonprofit? Are there any lines out there that say, okay, you can get in this line, but you can't because I don't know the rules.
Yeah, there's two programs: public assistance, which is public infrastructure, and that would include nonprofits. In most cases, there's a couple of small exclusions, but we have had public assistance disaster declarations, several of them, and Fairfield Medical Center, for example, is included. They're a big component.
I want to go back to, can we stay on this for a second? There's a point. Nonprofits who are damaged by the flood have potential access to disaster relief.
They're eligible for the program if it's declared. Yes. Okay. And non-insured loss.
Non-insured loss. Thank you, Mr. President.
And then to answer the other question, the other half is individual assistance. That's the person or the corporation or the business. And those things, those limits at FEMA are very high.
I understand. I just wanted to know more about that because even though FMC will probably end up with the biggest number, it won't end up with the largest impact. There are other social service organizations that were devastated and devastated much worse than the hospital.
All right. Commissioner Levesey?
So John, what do you think, and the governor declares the disaster, right?
Yeah, he declares, he ultimately will receive this and declare a disaster for a county or two or.
But he has not yet at this.
No, they do not declare until they start to see a damage assessment.
So we provide that information to them and then they decide if there's an emergency.
Correct. Then once he does, he would pass, in most situations, pass that along to the federal government to say, Ohio's declared a disaster declaration, please consider this package.
John has reached out to folks to try to gather that information from them.
Is there a chance the declaration would not be issued?
No, I typically see Ohio as pretty responsive. It's just what they can do. Because just like what Amy had mentioned, it opens up other state resources too, not just here's a check. So, we would ask for a state declaration if we needed state resources for rescue, like the National Guard. And those are quick. Governor can do those and has done those very quickly. If there's a state resource need, it's immediate.
So when do you anticipate that you'll have all that information put together and sent to the governor's office?
I've talked to Greenfield Township specifically and with the engineer's office about getting their estimates together as quick as possible. So I would hope in 2 days, but I know that they've got a lot to work with. So sooner the better.
Yeah.
And then I've received a lot of, we're not going to submit from other villages and those that could be impacted. So we have a good frame of who's going to. Then we're also going to be trying to coordinate the non-insured lawsuits. Who wasn't insured? It does take a couple days to figure out with your insurance what you're capable.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
I know, see Garrett's here. I know he's a huge part of your emergency preparedness planning process. And I wanted to say thank you.
We've been hammering it since Friday morning because we had a nice planned event scheduled and had been working on that since Friday morning. But
I know, but I saw the videos of the floodwaters.
Yeah.
Everybody got out alive. And I think that's because of your planning and preparedness.
well, we were joking around earlier. Preparedness is the first step to response. Our first responders that were there and actually, did the work, which, there's get into the thank yous. They came out and they knew the process. They knew the response. They knew the command structure. I mean, we drill it into them and it's called and that makes them better, I think.
So we're going to get into that, what happened. Before we do that, I want to ask, I saw some video that the part of DD's park was, well, not part of it, all of it was underwater. Was there any other damage that developmental disabilities took?
No, that park's really, Fairfield County Parks now, we sort of turned all that over, so there was a little bit of damage there. Some of our, memorial benches floated away, but our team, I think, has recovered all but one, or perhaps all of those at this point.
In Audie's backyard.
What's that? Yeah. And, so the damage was minimal. It never reached our buildings. Parking lots were flooded. As you know, you're talking about having crested over the bridge, and I can't say enough. John and I were in contact over the weekend several times. That obviously limited access to our employees, as well as OSU Extension and Ag Building. Get back there. John and his team, as well as Jeremiah and their team, by yesterday morning, had the bridge cleared, had it inspected for safety, and we were able to access our buildings. And so we are thankful for the response.
Thank you, David. Last thing I want to talk about before we go back to Saturday, let's talk about the festival. The festival has been a part of Fairfield County and Lancaster's core culture, right? It's the big event of the year outside of the fair every year. And as I understand, unfortunately, the fair board yesterday made the decision to cancel the events at OUL. Then if you could play that video, I appreciate it.
Just, you said fair board, but I think everybody knew
I'm
what you
sorry,
meant.
yeah, the festival board.
All safely shot with a drone.
So you can see from that video why the festival board made the decision they made, and we, as commissioners, support that. Want to be clear that we're only talking about the events that are actually held at that OUL site. That's tonight, Wednesday night, Saturday night. All the other festival events around Lancaster are continuing. The festival board is offering refunds to folks who had tickets for tonight, Wednesday night, and Friday night, or Saturday night rather. We're all hopeful that folks may choose not to take them up on their offer to do refunds, as there's obviously a huge financial outlay that the festival has put out there for artists and infrastructure, and all that's been, all that revenue has been washed away. So I know the festival board is doing everything they possibly can to keep it all together. We will be supportive. Others are being supportive. The festival will continue for, hopefully generations to come. We just need to get through this rough patch with them. Okay, now I want to turn back to John, and you can take us through Saturday. I understand that transit was involved and others. So if you could just kind of take us through how events unfolded and who responded and how they responded and how we saved some, lives and property.
Yeah, and this event is essentially two separate. So Saturday, the impact, approximately 7 p.m. Severe thunderstorm. We evacuated the Lancaster Festival concert that was just about to start. What seemed like a short thunderstorm and a quick 30-minute wait for lightning precautions. And that storm continued to build over Fairfield County and Fairfield County only, really. Ultimately led to about 4 to 5 inches of rain in 90 minutes. Canal Winchester through Baltimore and on the site itself. So what we looked at was a whole watershed, but it was a watershed that is really just a subset of the greater Hawking. And that's important because there's only so many places that the water is going to end up. And in this case, where that rain fell, a majority of the water ended up in the Fetters Run watershed. Today, we'll have a post that explains that watershed a little bit, a little thank you to Soil and Water for helping us build that out. And that just shows you the impact of why these smaller watersheds, when impacted with a large amount of rain, can be devastating and deadly. That night, outside of the Lancaster Festival, there was the FIDO. That impact, and Lancaster Fire responded to that, as well as our dog shelter. So Leanne and her crew were able to bring those dogs in, help them overnight, and be safe and stay safe.
When you say bring those dogs in, you're talking about the dogs that were being housed at FIDO that had to be relocated. They went to our shelter. Okay.
That was Saturday night. Sunday morning, we returned them to FIDO, only to, we'll get to Sunday. So, we had impacts again at Kroger, Goslin Drive, and then the Cherokee Directplex neighborhoods south of Main Street. Minimal impacts, but some impacts that we were able to respond to.
How did Hunter's Run hold up? Well,
Amazingly, because of where this system laid, the majority of the water in the canal area goes to the Black Lake watershed, ultimately ends out into Wake County. Had it been a little bit more south and ended up in the Hawking watershed, we'd be talking about different things right now. Interestingly enough, all of our structures in Hunter's Run did exactly what they were supposed to do. They slowed waters, and a good shout out to Hunter's Run for their recent maintenance. It's just really excellent, and it's doing what it's supposed to do by slowing down that progression of water. The other watershed that ultimately goes into the Hawking, which includes Fetters, Ewing, Baldwin Run, this east side of Lancaster, doesn't have any structures that really slow those waters down. So
No, there it is.
now there are some Mother Nature made slowing down of those.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
John, you mentioned Fetters Run, Baldwin, and what else? What other?
Ewing. So Ewing and Fetters make Baldwin.
Okay.
Just go through those one at a time. Who's responsible for the maintenance and upkeep on Fetters Run?
So Ohio drainage law the property owner is responsible for the maintenance of the bank property itself, and then the state of Ohio is the owner of the water. It's a very convoluted thing. Jeremiah might probably have more insight into it, but the care and maintenance of the property that a creek, stream, river is on is the responsibility of the homeowner, of the property.
Do we have any idea on order of magnitude in terms of the amount of rain that fell over what period of time? Do we have any knowledge as to whether this was a 100-year or 500-year event?
I will give you in statistics 6.5 inches in the key pieces in 24 hours between Saturday evening and Sunday afternoon. 6.5 inches in the forest areas. Overall, the watershed saw 5 on average everywhere. It's a huge area of Fairfield County. It's the northern part of Fairfield County.
I can answer.
Go ahead. Yeah,
If you're done.
yeah, the watershed issue.
So there's a couple things to look at. The intensity of the rain and the duration of the rain.
Right.
Make up the storm events. And what we saw was the intensity of a 100-year storm, which we've seen already this year once, and I think twice before, which is rare. But those intensities were relatively short durations compared to a storm event. A storm event is spread over 24 hours. We saw the intensity, but not for that period of time. So you could imagine the rain we got, if that went on for 24 hours, we're talking catastrophic type stuff. If we actually had a 100-year flood. That'll give everybody an indication of what something like that could do.
And I guess the reason I asked that, and I'll be asking that in the coming months, is as we do our after action analysis here and who knew what and when did they know it, when did they do about it and all that stuff. If it's a 100-year event, right, that's something we plan for, right? If it's a 500-year event, that's something we don't plan for. Can't. So, I think ultimately characterizing this in terms of whether it fits within our capacity to plan or whether it was beyond our capacity to plan, I'm just going to be curious about that as we unpack this.
And, we had recent discussions in the Amanda Clear Creek incident a couple of weeks ago about what that means, 100-year, 1,000-year, and the percentages and the math. What I like to simplify it as is the trigger points of precipitation in a 24-hour period. The statistics of what 1,000 or 500, we plan for certain levels of impact. We don't plan for at 6, we're going to have this. And that's only because every storm is different. We see different impacts in February when the ground is saturated from snow melt to after a drought in July. Totally different storms, even though you may have the same rain in the same area.
So we relate storms like this to flood events, 5-year, 10-year, 100-year, and whatnot. And it's really not the right way to describe or represent that when we're talking about a impact type of situation. Those storm events are more set up for design standards and whatnot that civil engineers would follow to design infrastructure. They have a meaning in that. We kind of cross that over to what we're doing. But, that's where the point I was making earlier about the intensity of the storm. Wasn't as long to qualify as one of those storm events, but we had that intensity for a short time. And that certainly, as we all saw, makes a huge impact. So, it's completely understandable why John doesn't look at the storm event years. It's not the best application for this.
So 2 weeks ago, we had a summer event, 6.4 inches in 70 minutes.
Yeah.
But you're talking about intensity, 70 minutes, 6.4 inches.
Yeah, I mean, this summer we've had 3 events that have all met the criteria of what people generally think of as a 1,000-year storm. Small, short impact time, but the impacts are huge. It's just our turn, I guess.
So that was Saturday.
Yeah, just again, the dog shelter helping Fido. Our festival command staff. I mean, what a great place to have resources because we had LPD, the sheriff's office, Lancaster Fire, our command staff, the Lancaster Festival staff.
I mean, we were well prepared to handle what was going on. But it still was, there were some moments in there were critical points. We had to act quickly to keep people safe. And even the folks themselves that attended, being calm and rational and staying where they needed to stay, exiting safely and things like that. Generally, the public were really great. There was one guy tried to run me over. That's okay. Just the response. I mean,
So we
that's,
got everybody out of the festival safely.
we, just a few cars that we'll have to pick up tomorrow morning, a few coolers downstream, but generally safe and a great response.
Okay.
So Sunday we're kind of a recovery day, bouncing back. We were fishing things out that had gotten washed away. Security measures that we found down by Lancaster High School that floated away, and ultimately trying to recoup and see where we're going to go from there. And then obviously next storm happens. An additional 2 to 3 inches in the watershed when it was already full, reaching that 6.5 inches in a 24-hour period. So the impact started Coon Path and down Havensport Road, all the roads that we discussed, washing out culverts and, stranded motorists in a lot of the standing water. Fairfield County historically had a very tragic event with a washed out culvert. It's very high importance for us that we do not drive on flooded roads because you do not know what the road looks like underneath. And then, we just continue to see as that progression of the waters, the impacts of FIDO, huge. Shout out to Lancaster Fire. They were there. They threw resources at Pleasant Township Fire, Greenfield Township Fire, Walnut Township Fire, all there immediately. Our water rescue team was there, which was probably our biggest turnout in a long time. I mean, I think we had 14 guys who are volunteers from other departments, and they're jumping in wetsuit, ready to go. And they pulled 50 dogs out of that facility, and a couple of folks who were just committed to saving those dogs at their own peril, and pulled all that out. We were able to shelter those dogs again at the dog shelter and assist them, and then just continually work downstream as the events impacted all the way down into that really even through to Lawrence Street in Lancaster, where ultimately watershed opens up a bit, and Hawkeye River can absorb.
So talk about the apartment complex.
So Sater Village, which most people know, be behind Park National Bank on East Main Street. It's a 4-building, 8-unit per building residential community. We did an evacuation, and I kind of go between a rescue and evacuation. So in this situation, we did not have fast moving water. We had rising water. We were safely evacuating folks, keeping them dry, trying to prepare them for, ultimately being out of their homes for a little bit was what we anticipated. So we got about 50 people out from that facility. When I say we, it's not me. It's Lancaster Fire. It's Lancaster Police, the Sheriff's Office. They got those safely there. We got the transit buses, and I was a little scatterbrained with Aaron at that moment. Transit came over. We were able to temporarily house them there. Huge shout out to them, and at their peril, because Lawrence Street, where our buses reside, ultimately is getting flooded at this moment. So we made sure Aaron could get his folks in safe, got them in there, got buses moved out, and then we have an agreement with.
Let me just pause.
Yeah,
on that.
yeah.
They were so helpful getting
Yeah.
folks out of the festival as well, and all hands on deck. To Aaron's, you and your team.
And we've had a relationship, in the previous version of transit, but this is like having my own fleet. It's pretty nice. So big shout out right there for that. That's working really well. Not my own fleet, I promise. Then we moved on to temporarily relocating those folks to Fairfield Medical Center. They've always been a great partner in opening up their assembly rooms for displaced folks in a temporary situation. The PD and the nursing staff and everybody who comes together, put out snacks. It was a whole great thing. And we had, blanked on the number, how many?
Get roughly 25 individuals that road transit buses.
So they were able to hang out there in a nice, warm, safe place, and then cool, safe place, have a snack, and then ultimately transit then helped us get those folks who had to have overnight shelter to the Red Cross shelter that was set up at the YMCA again, which worked there. Worked with that building maintenance team overnight. They pumped. Got assistance the next day from the city of Lancaster to pump even more water. Ultimately, this area doesn't have a stormwater system that is able to keep that water, especially when that point Baldwin Run is at its peak. So the standing water really got us there. And right before the meeting today, we did hear that that ownership group is going to take care of those folks and get them some lodging and clean up their apartments. Then, you know, we had the Recplex neighborhood, Cherokee, Mary Burnham, both of those neighborhoods impacted as well. And you know, trying to get some resources down there, whether it's the Southern Baptists, the numerous groups that volunteer in disasters to go help people directly and continue to do so.
You see the speed of those waters at a location where thousands of people are gathered outside. Not one child, not one elderly person, not one disabled person. I don't know how nobody got hurt here, but for you guys.
I mean, huge Lancaster Festival staff, the command staff. I mean, they Deb later said, "I heard it in your voice." You know, they most events, it's like, man, we cannot cancel, and it was the trigger points, and you know, we collectively made a call. Weather service is on the phone with us saying, yeah, I mean, what's happening above you in the atmosphere is literally happening above you. So, you know, to make the call to get people to safety, I mean, it barely rained and everybody was safe in the university. I mean, Ohio University having that ability to shelter those folks, and they welcomely opened their doors. It was just a great scenario. And again, we do plan for that. We do put a heavy command structure there, but it's for the good of the.
So, you know, the list of people to thank is really long, and I'm sure if I started, I'd miss somebody. But to you and your staff in particular, you know, every once in a while when you know, you're talking about this plan and that plan, I just kind of scratch my head a little bit and say, really? But this is why we do it, right? And the fact that you all had your plans and executed your plans saved lives. I mean, that's not, you know, that's not outlandish to say that, right? You guys save lives. That's a big deal, right? That's why we're here. I mean, we, you know, talk about economic development, transit, workforce development, and things that are important to the county long run. But this puts all that in perspective, that we have the opportunity to save lives if we do that, we execute well. So huge thank you to you, your staff, all the folks that we've mentioned today, you know, all the different groups that came together, Sheriff's Department, Lancaster Police, Lancaster Fire, all the first responders, the hospital, the transit system, everybody, right? Everybody stepped up and did their part. And as a result, we got through this as best as we probably possibly could have. So I don't know how better to say it than to say thank you, John. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, just, you know, some of the videos, the first responders carrying dogs and people through fast water. A lot going on there. Good conversation with Mayor McDaniel this morning. When we're through this and we know where the pain is, Mayor and I are thinking about some disaster relief options, what those look like, what those feel like, and how they would work. Too soon today to plan for that, but it's not too soon to be thinking about it.
I mean, our disaster response organization is literally being remade as we look at it right now from the federal level down. So we're excited to see some of these changes. But we're also anxious to see what's going to happen, because we don't want to let gaps open up in what we've seen as a whole community response.
Thank you all.
Commissioner Levesey?
I don't have anything else other than the fact that, I was telling John about a situation I had back in '78. I got into fast moving water and had the potential of loss of life. And I learned a major lesson that day. When that water's moving, stay out of it, because it's potentially deadly. But again, I'm with Commissioner Fix Davis on thanking everybody that's was involved, because you guys did a great job. Thank you.
If I may, Commissioner, with that comment, of the comments that John made earlier about people driving through water and whatnot. We try to do everything. We chain barricades, lights, put multiple barricades together. People still try to move these things and whatnot. And you're absolutely right. Powered water is incredible. The culvert that washed out on Havensport Road had sandstone head walls on it. Okay, and I'm talking 36 inches by 2 by 2, and might be 48 by 2 by 2. Big pieces of sandstone. It put every one of them off that it got down to as the road and the backfill eroded. It took those sandstones off. There are sandstones laying 100 yards from that bridge in Walnut Creek. So, Mr. Levesey, that you're absolutely correct, and a lot of people don't understand how powerful water is. It's dangerous.
You know, and usually to that point, Jeremiah, you see videos or read stories about someone who decided to drive through because they had to get home or they had to get to McDonald's or whatever it was. And then some helicopter had to come in and rescue them off the roof of their car, or they washed away and died. And I'm grateful that we didn't have any of that, right? That nobody really tried to suppress it. That people were smart and stayed back. And the fact that we got through all this with nobody dying, nobody getting really hurt, it's kind of a miracle. So thank you, everybody.
And we, in that same time frame that I referenced, we did see a loss of life. Young mother and her young child, recover their bodies.
Unfortunately, that story still haunts the people in my office.
All right. So thank you all for bearing with us as we went through all that. It's now 9:50. We have 2 presentations this morning, and I'm going to ask Dr. Brown and Bart if we can reschedule those, because we've got so much going on this morning. Carrie, would that be if we reschedule?
I'm with the schedule today.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you for your graciousness, Bart. Sorry about that, but we've got a pretty packed schedule today. So we're going to turn to public comments and ask anybody who wishes to address the commission to step to the podium, state your name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes today. Right?
Ray Stemen from 1481 Wesleyan Way here in Lancaster. I was wondering when I went to church yesterday or Sunday morning, how much water there would be across the road going through Bremen. And I was pleasantly surprised. It was like almost like a normal rainfall in Bremen area, which in 1950 some, I don't know exactly when, it was flooded very badly. And this lake we have on the east side of Fairfield County has a lot to do with that. And the residents in that area went together in the 1960s to plan to build a lake with a dam on it that would prevent the water from flooding Greenland about every 50 years when that big flood came. So it was pleasant to drive through Greenland and go to the east side of Fairfield County and not see water all over the place. So with that, we know there's a lot of work went into it and a lot of planning. And we saw the results here in Lancaster, that planning also continuing today. We thank the people involved, as already been said, and we need to pray for those people that have been, well, their homes been flooded. There's a lot of work that happens when flooding takes place, and it doesn't last just overnight. So with that thought, I want to go to prayer. Lord, we lift these people that were affected directly and indirectly by the flood here in Lancaster and Fairfield County. And we pray, Lord, and thank you for the men and women that were involved in the recovery. And we know, Lord, with a lot of planning and a lot of work going on, volunteer services and those services that are being served here in the county. And we thank you for the leadership during this last week and the preparedness and the communication, especially the communication was set up, and we're thankful for that communication. And Lord, we thank you for each one that was involved, and we praise you and thank you for their service, and we give you all the glory and the praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Ray. Who would be next to address the commission?
Good morning. I'll be brief. Good morning. My name is Beth Cottrill, 3535 Cedar Hill Road Southwest, Amanda. We'd like to thank you for passing the resolution against the proposed Carnation Solar Project. We'd also like to thank the people that did all the work this weekend. We had family at the concert Saturday night, and we know what a big deal that was. As you know, the Ohio Power Siting Board staff recommended Friday that the board deny the Carnation Solar Project. On page 49 of the report, they state that, nevertheless, staff emphasizes that the considerable opposition filed in this docket, combined with the significance of the unanimous local government opposition, supports that the project will create negative impacts with the local community. On behalf of myself, my family, and the hundreds of people who would be negatively impacted by this project, thank you for helping to make the Ohio Power Siting Board process a little bit fairer for the members, for the residents of Amanda Township who are trying to keep our community from becoming an industrial site. And we still stand in support with our friends from Citizens for Fairfields. We ask you that you continue to speak up for us. The public hearing is Monday, August 11th at 5 p.m. at Amanda Clear Creek High School. Thank you for your time.
Beth, who would be next?
Sherry Pimer, 3464 South Bank Road, Walnut Township. Commissioner Davis wasn't in here, but when Beth just talked about the Ohio Power Siting Board the Ohio Power Siting Board staff report considering Carnation Solar, they quoted the unanimous public officials' support, which we thank you for going against the Carnation Solar Project. You made a difference. You were the biggest difference. In Eastern Cottontail, you have made the biggest difference by not signing a letter opposing the Eastern Cottontail project. In the staff report for Eastern Cottontail, they noted the lack of commissioners' opposition. And so we are still asking you for a letter. We are still asking you why you haven't opposed the specific project, because in the rules it states that you can. And for the last 3 years, we've heard about transparency and all of that. But we don't have the transparency. We don't know why. And it was stated that eventually we will know the reason. Well, we don't know the reason. And without that reason, there's no transparency. So we would appreciate, again, you signing an opposition letter, because that will make a difference to the judges and the Ohio Power Siting Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Be next. Hearing none, we thank you all for coming today. So we're going to go out of order. We have a executive session scheduled for 10 a.m. It's now 9:58 and a half. So I'm going to ask Commissioner Davis to make that motion to go into executive session. When we come back from that, we will return to the agenda.
Make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues. In that session, I'd like to have the commissioners, the clerks, county administrator, deputy county administrator, representative from the prosecutor's office, representative from the sheriff's office, and representatives from the budget team.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
So we'll go into executive session. Shouldn't be a very long one, and we'll come back out and return to our agenda. Thank you all. All right, thank you all for your patience. We are back in session. It's 10:23. We're now in the part of the agenda where we ask for a legal update from Amy Brown Thompson.
Anything else to add to what I said earlier? It's went out of order with you.
Everybody's out of order today. All right. County administration update. Ani?
Will be speedy here. In the review packet, you have two things I'll just point out here. We have our estimated electric cost for 2026 from Palmer Energy. We do have that factored into the 26 budget, but just calling that communication out for you all. Also received a letter from the State Public Defender's Office regarding fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27 indigent defense budget. They updated the reimbursement rate and the removal of the limit on appointed council hourly rates for reimbursement. They've also added a performance audit of Ohio's indigent defense services and a new model of indigent defense delivery in Ohio that they were working on there. So we have shared that information with the courts to make sure they're aware of that as well. Review packet does contain a list of administrative approvals, and we've had a couple of resolutions move on and off, but I do believe that still brings our total to 24. There is a resolution on the agenda to amend the meeting schedule for this coming month. August 5th is now going to become a regularly scheduled 9 a.m. meeting instead of the evening meeting that it was scheduled for. So you'll see that adjustment there. We will work to schedule another evening meeting with Rush Creek in the future. We also have two resolutions regarding opioid settlement agreements. The first resolution is to approve signing the agreement related to the Purdue Pharma Sackler settlement. And the second is for the approval to sign the settlement agreements with 8 other pharmaceutical companies. Economic and Workforce Development has a resolution to authorize a training grant to Foam Holdings. This grant is for a maximum of $20,000 a year for 3 years and an additional $20,000 for a 4th year if the hiring requirements are met and have been agreed upon. So Vince was hanging out for a bit to chat about that because Rick is unable to be here today. But please let me know if you do have any questions on that one. It's also a resolution to approve the OMJ Center contract between Pickaway JFS and the Board of Commissioners, who are the administrative and fiscal agent for the Area 2021 Workforce Development Board. We already talked about the walk-on for the engineer's office to allow that to the road repair to take place. In addition to that, they have 2 resolutions to approve the contract with the construction for the 25 pavement markings project and the notice to commence for that project. Juvenile Court has a resolution for the approval of an MOU between Juvenile Court and Fairfield County Educational Service Center. This agreement is a collaboration for implementing early intervention programming and to assist in lowering community truancy. And under this MOU, Juvenile Court provides a full-time caseworker utilizing subsidy funds from the Ohio Department of Youth Services. Regional Planning has a resolution to approve the final plat for phase 1 of the Sycamore Grove subdivision in Violet Township, and the Sheriff's Office, that one was removed. And MCU has a resolution for a memo receipt to reimburse the general fund for rental costs. So they do pay rent for the facility out at Baldwin, and this will take care of that. Bart, thank you for your willingness to forward your budget presentation on to next week. Rochelle, if you want to quickly tackle calendar review and invitations received, please.
Yes, under calendar review, we do have the Commissioner Levesey is hosting Juveniles Court Wheel of Fortune this Thursday. We received an invitation for the Fairhope Hospice and Palliative Care on August 4th, and United Way of Fairfield County will have the 2025 Community Care Day on September 4th. The only items in correspondence outside of what was mentioned previously is Anna Tobin, Director of the Senior Hub, sent a thank you note for her recommendation to the Regional Council of Governments for Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging. And then we have correspondence regarding large solar facilities and correspondence regarding the sexennial property tax update. That's it.
Thank you, Rochelle. That's all, Commissioner.
So if you would counter me for Fairhope,
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, updates from elected officials. And department heads, Tiffany,
Thank you.
Josh, Jim.
Real quick, obviously my wife and I were sad last night. We got the letter from the board. If the festival is canceled for the rest of the week, I would really hope that people would strongly consider not asking for refunds. If they purchase tickets and consider that as a donation to the festival so we can enjoy it again next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Brown?
Like to add, if anybody has damage or destruction to their property, deadline for reporting that to the county auditor for performance evaluation purposes, December 31st, if that damage or destruction happens in the first 3 quarters of the year. So we'll do some social media campaigns and other things to help people understand that process, because there likely is property, either residential or commercial, that would be damaged throughout this time.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Got it. Dan the man.
Glad to be back.
We're equally glad to have you back, Dan. Corey? Yeah. No. All right, old business, Commissioner Davis.
Just briefly, I know they kind of got away from us on the budget issue, but I did meet with Bart this morning regarding the budget commission process and the 10-year outs and the narrative. And just so my colleagues are aware, I suggested to him in that narrative that he made clear that confidence in the first 3 years projections, confidence goes down every year after that until it arrives at 0 in year 7.
Couldn't agree more. Old business, Commissioner Levesey.
No, thank you.
I have none. New business, Commissioner Levesey. Commissioner Davis. I have none as well. All right, we are through our review session. Pattern, if I can find it here. While I'm looking, if you all would rise. Ready for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it is a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Michelle, are there announcements?
Yes, just a couple of items. The agenda was sent out without the updated resolution A with the correct dates. Resolution X will be that added resolution from the engineer's office regarding the.
Thank you. I think I got it. I do. Hallelujah. Thank you. Say that again, Rochelle, please. Thank you.
The resolutions, there are 2 changes. Resolution A has the updated dates, and Resolution X has been added. That is the resolution regarding the culverts and road issues with the engineer's office.
Thank you. All right. So we are now looking for a motion for the approval of the minutes of the July 22nd meeting.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Minutes past 3-0. From the Commissioners, Resolution 2025-7.29.a. A resolution amending resolutions 2024-1203.a, 2025-4.22.a, and 2025-6.24.a, establishing the Fairfield County Board of Commissioners 2025 review session and regular meeting dates and special meeting dates.
Under Commissioners, I move resolution A, B, and C.
Second.
Discussion. I appreciate my colleagues and staff's flexibility on the calendar. Trying to balance, both jobs, and moving that August 5th date to the morning is very helpful. Look forward to getting down to Bremen at a later date. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Board of Elections, Resolution 2025-7.29.d. A resolution to appropriate from unappropriated a major expenditure object category for Board of Elections Fund 2884 SOS 2025 primary election funding.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Court of Common Pleas, Resolution 2025-7.29.e. Resolution to appropriate from unappropriated into a major expense category for Fund 2852, targeting community alternatives to prison grant to establish a fund for 2025 Fairfield County Common Pleas.
Under Fairfield County Court of Common Pleas, I move resolutions E and F.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. For Fairfield County Economic and Workforce Development, Resolution 2025-7.29.2. Resolution authorizing the approval in advance from the general fund to 7831 WIOA 2021.
Under Fairfield County Economic and Workforce Development, I move resolutions E, H, and I.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. For the Fairfield County Engineer, Resolution 2025-7.29.j. A resolution to appropriate from unappropriated a major expenditure object category County Engineer 2024 motor vehicle for contractual services.
Under Fairfield County Engineer, I move resolutions J through P.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Job and Family Services, Resolution 2025-7.29.q. Resolution to appropriate a memo expense memo receipt for the cost of birth certificates paid to Fairfield County Health Departments as a memo expenditure for Fund 2072 Public Children's Services.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From Fairfield County Juvenile Probate Court, Resolution 2025-7.29.r. A resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding by and between Fairfield County Juvenile Court and Fairfield County Educational Services Center.
So moved.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. For Fairfield County Regional Planning Commission, Resolution 2025-7.29.s. A resolution to approve the Sycamore Creek Phase 1A final plat.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From South Central Major Crimes Unit, Resolution 2025-7.29.t. Resolution authorizing an account-to-account transfer for MCU Fund 7829 Justice Assistance Grant 24.
Under South Central Major Crimes Unit, I move resolutions T, U, and B.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. Payment of bills, Resolution 2025-7.29.w. A resolution authorizing the approval of payment of invoices for departments that need Board of Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. From the Engineers Office, Resolution 2025-7.29.x. Resolution to declare a continuing real and present emergency in Greenfield Township and Pleasant Township under Ohio Revised Code 307.86A2.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Rochelle, request that you forward these, the resolution, once it's passed, to the fiscal officers for both Greenfield and Pleasant Township. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Levesey?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
He said yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. The next regular meeting is scheduled for August 5th at 9 a.m. in this room.
Thank you all for bearing with us today. We're now only 7 minutes late for our land bank meeting. Yes, sir.
And we'll move it down the hall to the small conference room to allow for the setup for our lunch today.
Thank you. Is there any other business before the commission this morning? Thank you all for being here. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.